Welcome to episode 25 of the SNARLcast about indie wargames and their design, coming to you from Snarling Badger Studios. I'm Adam, and I'm here with Vince. How are you doing, Vince?
Adam, I am absolutely fantastic today. Absolutely fantastic here. This is the first show we're recording in 2026, hence the discussion we're going to get into today about hobby resolutions. But for Snarling Badger Studios. But that's not really why I'm so excited. Not just because it's a new year and full of potential and possibility.
Why are you excited?
But because I've basically finished all the writing for our next game as of the new year.
All right. I thought you were excited because you had to go back to work tomorrow.
I'm not excited about that. No, I do have to go back to work tomorrow, yes. But no, I finished all the writing. I achieved my goal.
Nice. That's always important, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Well, that's very cool. We'll be talking about that and some other things, including, some Snarling Badger Studios resolutions, New Year resolutions. And, and I don't know, we'll touch on all kinds of different things as we go. So let me see. We've got, so you're saying that the text is finished?
Yes, I've got to go. Yeah. So we'll give people insight into the process here.
Yeah.
So, yes, I have all the main text written. There are like tiny little sections that you and I don't complete until after it's done through development. So, for example, when you get one of your books and you see this thing that right at the front that says like an example of play, that's kind of a little walkthrough of the mechanics, or the rules reference at the end, we don't populate those two little sections. It's about a page and a half, really, in the full sweep of things, until after it's gone through development, because I use real numbers and examples in those. And then if we change those numbers, it's easy to get lost and then they don't align. So I just wait until we have all the numbers locked and then I do those. But yes, beyond that, we're good to go.
Here's a little insider tip also to the way we do things. When going through and writing the text and you want to make a reference to a section, like if you're talking about combat, and then at the end of that paragraph, you might say something like "see combat page," then we always put in XX.
That's right.
Because we don't know what the page number is yet. But the benefit to doing that and always putting in XX means that when the time comes, we can do find and replace on XX, and then we can find all the pieces and things like that throughout the document and make sure to fix them. And then when you do a search for find XX and there are zero, responses or whatever, then you finally found all of the things that reference a page number. We also do YY sometimes for specific
things that I need to come back to and write. Yeah, non-page reference stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and I think that's just finding like those types of conventions as you're writing to help you via the technology and things like that. Like, I'll just tell you, because my memory is garbage, that if you just go, I'll remember to fix that later, you won't. That you literally won't. Yeah, no. So you really have to like kind of plan ahead a little bit and come up with these little conventions and things like that. So
yeah, sometimes if there's a section that I know is a little rough and I'm like, I need to come back to that, or I'll be working on something. Because like what often happens is I'll be writing something and I'll think, oh, okay, I need to go make sure this other rule works with this new thing I'm doing properly, or like that this is correct. So I'll zip up to that section, just drop in a YY, and then go back to finishing what I was working on. That way, when I control F later for YY, I find it and then, do whatever I need to do with cleanup on that section.
Fix the bits and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of plates to keep spinning, and so it is always the best to find whatever kinds of tricks and chicanery you can do to keep it all straight. And when the book is done, that doesn't mean the book is done. As far as the text, I mean.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's a major milestone.
Certainly. Oh, for sure, yeah. But it is the milestone that, because we've been doing this for a while and we keep cranking these things out yearly, we've found patterns in the way we do it, and we know
that's right
what a milestone is versus what a milestone isn't to some degree, and everybody works differently. So, but yeah, and then so that's good. That's really good. What else is going on? Anything else? You had a nice vacation. I mean, you didn't go anywhere. Did you go anywhere?
No, I went nowhere and worked constantly. because I was getting this thing finished as well as a bunch of other stuff, obviously, for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, my vacation is from my normal job is I get to pretend like I only have 2 jobs for a couple of weeks, which is which is very nice.
Yeah.
And so that's been pleasant. That comes crashing down on my head tomorrow, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's just been everything else hobby related, right? Still trying to I've had much less painting time than I've wanted, though I'll talk about that a little bit when we get into that here in a moment. I mean, we can do it right now if you want.
Yeah.
I just have had not enough time. And I mean, I always feel bad when I have to go a couple days without painting. And that's really what's happened. Like I haven't painted in a couple days as of our recording of this.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is not because I'm being lazy or something like that. The reason for that is because I've been knee deep in this book as well as, other related stuff as far as like end of year things for the channel. And, just there's like a lot of, I don't think people understand all the logistics and nonsense that goes on behind the scenes for everything. Right. That's been that. And, also much as you were dealing with, I'm dealing with a mom related thing, though admittedly this is coming down a lot harder on my sister. So I've also had some family chicanery going on, health type stuff. So hasn't been quite as relaxing as I wanted. But we got a lot done. So, we'll get back to it. I'm not worried.
Yeah, it's always, I've been finding as I've been getting older, especially now, that it's important to be able to, when you can, cut yourself some slack. And so, that is a thing as well. I spent a couple hours this evening while my lovely wife was watching football and knitting. I spent several hours this evening just playing Cyberpunk 2077 on my little weird handheld PlayStation Portal device. And I had a cat on my lap, and he was asleep, and it was not too bad. It was just fine. But lately, as I've been playing that Cyberpunk game, it keeps just like poking at me about like terrain designs and like board concepts and stuff like that. I printed actually this weekend. My printer's been running nonstop. It stopped right now, but as soon as Vince and I get done here, I'm going to fire it up again and then go to bed. But I've been printing these little billboards, these little you folks can't see them, but Vince can see them. But there's these little two-sided kind of cyberpunk billboards, and I've been making pieces of artwork that I'm going to put
as you
in
might
there.
See on the top of a building or the side of a highway or something like that.
Yeah, but they look cyberpunk because they got extra greeblies and crap around the edges and stuff like that.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. It's more futuristic that way.
Indeed. So I've been looking at a lot of different files and things like that, and I'm also starting to mess around with starting to do a little bit more sculpting myself. As a matter of fact, I've been learning Blender, which is a 3D software, and that's been part of my hobby lately. Is watching these kind of classes, these online classes, and trying to learn the software because it is obtuse, but it is free and pretty powerful. So what are you going to do? But yeah, I talked a little bit about this in the video that went live on Friday. My kind of beginning of the year kind of video is that I do want to start making baby steps towards making actual terrain. I mean, down the road someday, maybe I'll be making terrain that people could buy for our games or something like that. You know what I mean?
See, this is the missing piece of the puzzle. Y'all need to really get on Adam about this on the video. Leave a note saying, Adam, keep going. You can do it. Because what I'm trying to have happen here is like the missing piece of our puzzle with our little snarl. Speaking of resolutions, one of my 2027 resolutions is for Adam to get so skilled with his sculpting that we can release like some small piece of terrain or something with aligned with one of our games. So we got to get 2026 is his year of learning. Let's go.
I think that I can do terrain. I've had a lot of people in the video on Friday who were like, "Oh, cool! It's great that you're going to start sculpting miniatures. You should start." I'm like, "No. I'm not sculpting people. That's not. No, I can make some boxes and some shapes that look like a building and stuff like that. I mean, I can probably. I've already done it once. I made one not this year, but 2 years ago at your place. when I was there for VinciCon, and I sculpted that in Tinkercad, which is like another free piece of software, but it runs in a browser. It's super simple. But I was able to make like this sort of blocky sort of building that's got this sort of sci-fi concrete bunker look to it. And I've printed one out. It's in my basement, and it needs to get airbrushed. But yeah, people is a whole different kettle of fish. That's not a thing.
That's fine. We don't need to get to people yet. That's for the future. The 2027 is when whatever game we release for 2027, which we know what it'll be.
Sure, we do.
We'll talk about that some time in the future when I start writing it sooner than I probably want to.
Sure. Well, there's still Snarl 2026 as well.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
But everybody already knows that's just going to be elves with shotguns. So the meme will be real.
Okay.
But like, I mean, I'm just excited for like, seriously, you being able to do some terrain that we'd make available at the same time would be super cool. It'd be neat.
Sure.
It could even be a thing where we like package it with the game at some point. That'd be cool.
I would love to if I could get that same magical amulet that you have that stops time for up to 12 hours a day, so you can like spend extra time painting.
Exactly. I do have the time turner. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
No, what you need, Adam, is my magic trick. I don't need the time turner. That's for losers. Okay.
All right.
What I have is a crippling sense of OCD and absolute like unwavering requirement for productivity to where I cannot sleep at night if I do not feel like if I can't go down a checklist of things that day that I have mentally checked off. Like I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this. And usually that list must be at least like 5 things.
Gotcha.
Or it has to be really big. And if I can't do that, I will just keep going until I die. So I have to balance my time very carefully. So all you need is to be a complete lunatic. It's really easy.
Right. Well, I mean, I've got it maybe not unlock like that. I do personally myself. I notice that I do like if you ever come to our house eventually someday, you'll find that there are skulls everywhere. And it's not because I'm a big fan of the Emperor or anything along those lines. I have a. I
mean, you could be
here on my desk. I have a little black onyx skull right there, and that is actually much more of a memento mori kind of situation. Okay. So it is reminding me at any given time when I look pretty much any direction in the house, someplace, it's reminding me that that this too will pass. So you got to,
that life is fleeting. Yeah.
Right. You got to get things done while you're still upright. And so I mean, it's also just cool because skulls are cool. We all have one, at least one.
Sure.
And, so that's cool too. But it is definitely a reminder that you got to get things done while you can get things done. And, I don't necessarily have a number per day that I have to keep track of before I go to bed. So I guess, I'm behind in that aspect, but yeah, I just think, I mean, in a perfect world, I would be able to do sculpting and then also do the artwork. That would be something too. Which I mean, technically, I mean, I did technically do the artwork for
Majestic
13, but
yeah, it was great too.
It wasn't illustrative. It was more photo manipulation. So we could just do a lot more.
I mean, we could do a lot more like photos of miniatures and stuff. That is possible. But
well, sure, yeah.
But
I'm just saying, like,
art is cool.
Yeah. But I mean, we could just do a lot more games that are about like corporate espionage or
sure.
I get that's all I can think of really. That's about it. That and like UFO stuff, and that's about the end of that. Anyway, so let's see. Did we do the quick update on our games? And now we're kind of moving into the hobby stuff. You said you haven't painted.
Yeah, this is like general banter about our hobby. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. I've only done. I finished up painting some. I painted 6 Arasaka models from Monster Fight Club. Arasaka
What'd you call it?
Is Arasaka. It is it's a big corporation in the cyberpunk game. Both. There was the old role playing game, which they have obviously updated back in 2021 maybe or something like that. I think is when Cyberpunk Red came out. But Cyberpunk, the tabletop role-playing game has been around forever. And then, of course, Monster Fight Club made a skirmish game called Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone. And these models are for that. And Arasaka is a big Japanese corporation that kind of runs a lot of things in Night City, etc. And so I painted 6 of those models up, like a warband. They're pretty simple because they're black and red, mostly black. And so it's I just did my primate black and then zenithal it with a very dark gray, and then do some dry brush with a slightly lighter gray, and then cover everything in black wash, and then paint the details. And it's speedy. They're
Nailed
not.
it.
I'm not going to lie. They're not the greatest models in the world.
Sure.
They're not bad sculpts, but they're CeoCast, which I used to be a little bit more bullish about. But if I'm honest, CeoCast,
it had a lot of potential when we first looked at it, but yeah, it just never came together. It's too finicky.
Well,
a lot of the models that come out of that just aren't very good.
You know what it is? It's that they're plastic metal models.
Yeah. Yes, I do know exactly what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like if you think about the detail on a metal model, they have roughly the same amount of detail as a metal model can have, and sometimes that goes a little south. But they're just made out of plastic instead of metal, which is a benefit because it's easier to like cut them up and they don't chip as easily when you drop them and stuff like that. That's a benefit. But yeah, so I got those guys done. I'm still working on Twitch on the Prussians for Principality of New Antioch for Trench Crusade, and they're coming along relatively well, and I'm happy with those. And then I built some models this weekend for a project that's going to be coming up soon that I'll be people will find out by the time this comes out. It'll probably be out, so it won't matter. But nonetheless, yeah, that's basically. And then, like I said, I've been printing a lot of terrain, so there's that too.
See, I should start streaming on like Twitch and YouTube simultaneously or whatever. I should do that as well, like once a week for a couple hours, just because then that would guarantee, like that would force me to have some locked in paint time. The problem is I couldn't record it. Right. For I mean, I could record it, but it wouldn't be like video ready in the same way that I make my videos.
No. I a couple of things there. Number one, I should also be doing it on YouTube at the same time. I just do it on Twitch, but Twitch used to have like rules about you can't multicast, and then
I know, but now they let you, and YouTube lets you as well, so it doesn't matter.
So there's a part of me that's like, I should probably figure that out and go through with that. But my concern is like with Twitch, the VODs, as they call them, the video on demand, the reruns, the recordings of your live show, they are there, but they only last for 60 days, I think, and then they disappear. So you can't watch a VOD from 3 months ago. But with YouTube, you could. And my concern is I don't know what would happen if I'm all of a sudden adding 2 more live stream recordings to my my output on YouTube. 2 more 3 hour, like I do. Are people going to be like, Jesus, there's a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to do about that. So I got to figure that out. But yeah, I should probably take advantage for the streaming and stuff like that. But we'll see how that goes. But it is nice having, at the very least, a guaranteed 6 hours a week generally, unless I'm traveling, that I do force myself to paint. But I always try to go further than that. And you do considerably more than that anyway, usually.
No, I do. It's just I do miss, there was a time, especially, I mean, we're getting into this kind of resolution talk and things we're thinking about, right?
Sure.
This is more personal stuff. We're going to talk about Snarling Badger, really. But it's the new year. You start thinking about this stuff. And there is a lot of time that I used to spend just streaming and talking to people back in the day, the early parts of my channel, right? Mm-hmm. And I do miss that to some degree. Like, it's nice to just not have to have a huge subject to talk about. I love doing the live show every week. There's always a subject, and we're there for a reason, a purpose, and it's got a structure and stuff like that. It's nice to just be able to kind of hang out and have a chat. That is nice.
That's the thing. Like with the Every Other Sunday show, I always need to come up with kind of a subject. We barely touch on it sometimes.
Right. You're really just talking. Yeah.
But there, I still kind of need to have a thumbnail, and it needs to relate to something. You know what I mean? Whereas with Twitch, you don't. You just are it's just, it's streaming again. So there is a benefit to that. Either way, live stream is great because then you don't have to edit. You just, you get done and you go do
believe
something
me.
else.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, there's a huge advantage of doing a live show every week. Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is a nice thing. But I think that's what I got. What about you? As far as hobby, like you said, that
the other thing I've been working on is I'm finishing up a really cool Skaven model here as I'm talking. It's this guy, Lord Kritok. Mm-hmm. So he's just a really cool standalone Skaven. He has 2 little rats next to him. It's one of these dudes. Obviously, again, you all can't see it, but you can look up Lord Kritok. And I love this guy. I just think he's super cool. I hate that they always include other figures in with the figure now. You know what I'm talking about? You can't, it's not enough to just have one hero. He has two little guys on his base with
Yeah.
him. These are like
Mhm.
diorama bases. Drives me a
Mhm.
little crazy, but is what it is. I think the figure's worth it. He's got like the most awesome sword that they've sculpted in a long time.
Where'd he
So
come from? Is he from, Darkwater or whatever, or is
no,
he
no, he's a
separate?
Skaven dude. He came
Just a
out a while back. Yeah, when
Oh,
they
okay.
launched. I've just had him for a while. Haven't got a chance to paint him. He's like a named character that I didn't really have much reason to use,
Yeah, yeah.
if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, but I had the time painting characters right now. The dog is finally getting well trained. That's been the other part of my life is obviously we got the new puppy.
Right,
And
right.
so now she's finally starting to like behave and do the right things and not be a constant thorn in our sides. It's not, I don't mean it like that. I just mean
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No,
you have to have a lot of eyes on dogs. You can't just like a little puppy, you can't just let him be.
right. Oh,
Okay.
no, they'll yeah, when things get
So for
quiet,
2
that's
months, it's
bad
been really
news.
hard to sit down and have like a dedicated lot of painting time.
Mhm,
Because
mhm,
if I've got her with me, she's in my office, she's chewing things, she's eating cords, trying to chew my airbrush
mhm.
hose,
Right.
stuff like that, right? That's not good.
Is it
So I've gone to
teething
single
thing?
figures. That's my new thing, single
I mean,
figures.
I get that. Is it like a teething thing? Is that why she's chewing on stuff all the time, or just
Yeah.
because she's
Yeah, yeah.
bored?
It's because they're teething.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, this is, frankly, this is why the cats don't come in the basement because it would be a nightmare. So, I
Sure.
don't let them in the basement generally. But, even that, like, my wife has been, on the dining room table, she's been building have you ever seen those little book nooks? It's like a little tiny mini diorama that you put on your bookshelf and you put it between like two
Totally.
books that
Yes.
like
I
looks
know
like a little
exactly what
thing.
you're talking about.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So I bought her one when I was at Gen Con this year that looks like a little kind of garden shed kind of thing and everything. It's got little lights in it and all
Cool.
that stuff. And it's all like laser cut MDF. It's like colored and got stickers and you punch it all out. And I don't even think she needed glue. It's all completely like without glue, I think. So she built that one, but then she got another one from Christmas from some friends of ours. And so then she was building that. But that stuff is a lot of little tiny parts and things like that. And they're on the dining room table. And every once in a while, Rex or even George, who's usually not the naughty one, are both up there like, hey, what's all this stuff? And that's always a thing. So yeah, you got to keep an eye on that. Any kind of like, if you're just sitting there in the den watching TV and you hear just the smallest little noise behind you that sounds like
Sure. Oh, yes.
not a
Yes. Yes. The
toy. And
tiny
you're like,
clicky
oh,
clacky.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And you're like, what are you doing? And then, yeah. And they never answer when you ask them that. So, but
Sadly. But
anyway.
yes, that's been my life for 2 months. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
no,
yeah,
she's
yeah.
finally, we timed it out perfectly, hoping that like over the break we could spend a lot of time with her, we
Yeah.
spend time training,
Smart.
and now
Very smart.
we're good. She's been really good this last sort of week or so. So
Nice.
we're back into it.
Does she like to retrieve? Does she like to? I mean, I know you don't hunt. It's not
Oh,
like
it's
that, but
genetic.
yeah, yeah, it is. She just you throw a ball and they bring it back, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
They
yeah,
they it really it is very much they've been bred for that. It is
yeah,
genetically there.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they cannot help themselves.
Oh, well, that's see, that's how you take their attention away from the naughty sometimes, and you know what I mean, that kind of thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. If you just make
Yeah,
something move, they'll go after it. Yes.
sure.
Believe me, I use that trick all the time.
Yeah, I guess I bet so. Um, well, cool. I one other thing I noticed is, and by the time this comes out, it will have happened. But there's a small convention here in town that I had. Well, first of all, it didn't used to be here in town. It used to be a couple towns over where Sam lives, and it was called
Oh, okay.
TundraCon, and it was
Okay.
miniatures, but mostly historicals.
All
But
right.
it A, moved to town here instead a couple years ago, which I had forgotten about. And B, it still is mostly historicals, but there's also some other stuff going on there as well. So I'm going to go, I think, on Saturday next week,
Neat.
because there's going to be, they're running blackout demos, which is very cool. So I want to, hang out there a little bit and stuff like that.
That's cool.
I have 4 painted forces for blackout, but I have not been able to play a game since I think Nova. So I kind of need a bit of a refresher and stuff like that. And there's a couple other things, but most of it's kind of like old grognard, kind of like, um, historical stuff. But there's some other kind of cool things there too. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to, and again, it's just on the, other side of town. So it won't be a problem at all. I'll go and hang out and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to that. And then in theory, I'm going maybe to Peoria the weekend after that. Um, the folks at AdeptCon, they make all their own terrain for the most part. Like if you're just like a small group and you show up and you're like, hey, we want to run an event, well then you're using your own terrain. But for tournaments and stuff like that,
Sure.
they make almost all the terrain. They make all the 40K terrain, and almost all of it's 3D printed, like fancy stuff. And then they have a team of people and they like airbrush it, and they do this on the weekends. And so I am going, not this, I don't know, like the weekend of the 16th. I'm going to go for like
yeah.
day and a half.
For the listeners, it will be the upcoming weekend when they hear this. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the case. Yeah. But it's that's the plan, at least right now. And it's like a 4.5 hour drive for me to get there. So it's not like a quick just across town like the TundraCon. But I want to make a video kind of about the behind the scenes about like, because I don't think a lot of people realize that. How like
no, that's cool. I had no idea.
They have a printer farm and just print like all year long for like new terrain, and then they've got people who are spraying it and stuff like that. I think Dave Taylor is coming in to help that weekend as well. So yeah,
haven't good dude, that Dave Taylor.
Absolutely. So yeah, I like I said, I'm going to go mainly to film and maybe to help a little bit, but mostly to film, and then I want to be able to make a video to let people know about that. So those are a couple of plans that I've got for this month, since I'm not going to Las Vegas Open because they're not doing it in January anymore. They've moved it to October. So otherwise, my first convention, and probably yours too, is probably going to be AdeptCon.
AdeptCon, yeah, that's right. Yeah, my last big one was I wanted to get my official Trench Crusade campaign kicked off for this year, and I got my group to agree to it. So everybody got the rules. We're all working our 700-point lists up because we're going to do a full campaign over the course of this year. So we'll get one game in a month. So yeah, that's our first game is later this month. So maybe by the time we record next, I'll have played. Probably, maybe. Cool. So yeah, we'll see.
Nice.
We're dialing in our dates still for just to kick it all off.
I watched your video with because you painted a Hell Knight. No,
Yoke Fiend. Yes,
Yoke Fiend, and then you painted a Hell Knight though in the Metallics video.
That's true. I did that too. Yes.
I watched both of those. So it is the new year. I mean, as you listen to this, it's
I've heard
past the new year, but it is now the new year. And you know how you can't make any resolutions until the new year. If you're like, you know what, I want to change the way I do things in life, and you do it in November, people are gonna be like, look, you got to stop this. You have to wait until January. You can't do it otherwise. You can't.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So now it's legal for us to make resolutions because it is January. So I think that's what we're going to talk about here, and we're talking predominantly about Snarling Badger Studios resolutions, not our own resolutions. I made a video about kind of, to some degree, my plans for 2026 on my channel, and and I think you've probably talked about it a bit as well, about things you'd like to do and such. Yep. And so now we're going to talk about things that the Snarling Badger Studios would like to do.
That we as a company want to do. Yes, that's right.
And we've already started with one of these. Technically, we illegally did a resolution earlier in the year. We did it in, technically August. I'm surprised we weren't fined. And that is to release more information about our games earlier. Now, if you've noticed...
Yeah, we could call that the beta test, right? That was the beta test.
That's a good point. Yeah, we were beta testing it. Good point. That's how we don't go to prison. In the past, we always obviously with the first game, with Rain and Hell, we didn't tell anybody it was coming out at all until it came out. And that was part of the point. Mainly because I wanted to make that joke about how we were going to be going to Kickstarter in the next 6 months. And then because so many times people are like, hey, this is a cool thing we're going to be doing. And you're like, that does sound cool. Can I get it? And they're like, no, not for a while. And we just, so I made a joke about how after I explained the entire thing, hey, it's going to be coming to Kickstarter. Then I was like, no, I'm kidding. It's available right now. You can get it at this link. But otherwise, we've always just decided to come out with a game and then ta-da, there's the game. And so we've decided to change that. We decided earlier in 2025 that we wanted to announce the micro game that was going to be in Snarl at Nova. So Nova takes place Labor Day weekend, late August, early September. And we did a live podcast, and we told people about it, and told them the name and kind of the vibes and what it was vaguely about and everything like that. And then since then, predominantly here on the podcast, we talked more and more about Chrome Rangers as we went. And so Can we prove that it increased sales? No. Was that really the point either? Also, no. So we just thought maybe it was a good idea to, I don't know. It just seemed like it's a change of pace. It allows people to kind of maybe build hype a little bit. You don't want to build too much hype. You don't want to like announce stuff that comes out 6 years from now, and then like in the video game industry. But yeah, that's kind of the plan, and we're going to be doing that again for the game that's coming out in spring, which, as
that's right.
Vince just said, was completed text literally this weekend. So for those people who don't know, we're doing a live podcast at Adepticon. So that'll be in late March. It's on Friday night of Adepticon. It is from 8 p.m. till 9:30 p.m. We're doing our live podcast. And we're not live streaming it, but people will be there, and then we will record it, and you'll be able to find it on the Snarling Badger Studios YouTube channel afterwards.
Yeah, it'll show up in this feed, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And right, and there'll also be the audio version of it on if you're listening to this stuff on headphones and such. But that's where we'll announce the title and like more information and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. What are your thoughts about, like, because we didn't really discuss it. It was more of a like, hey, do you think we should do this? And we were like, yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Literally, that's why I say it was the beta, because to like us deciding to talk about Chrome Rangers at Nova was literally in the middle of our talk. I wrote a note into my phone that said, "Do you want to spoil the new game?"
That's and right,
I literally put the phone over toward you as we're on stage, and you went, "Sure." And then we talked about it.
Right.
That was the amount of planning.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You like, I was talking or whatever, and you just like were typing on your phone, and I was like, what is he doing? And then you like showed it to me, and then I was like, oh yeah. And yeah, I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah. I mean, we kind of plan, like we know. Sure.
I'm just saying we did put a little seat of the pants. It wasn't official. That's why it wasn't an official resolution. This one's now we're making that test
right
official.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I want to talk about it more for a couple reasons. Like the reason we're going to do the announcement at Adepticon, which will be basically 2.5-ish, something around there, two and some change months.
Yeah,
before the game launches, is because I want to give people some time to not only get hyped, but also to like start thinking about theme and what they might want to need to collect for it and stuff like that. So we're going to actually try to give some like concrete information about the thing, right? So that people could like start planning, well, these are the types of minis I'd want to use, or this is the type of terrain I need, or, just stuff like that. It just help them to get ready for the game.
Because being miniature agnostic, like the hope is that a person's going to go, oh, okay, well, I've got this and this and this already that I could use potentially. And then I could just add this and this, and boom, there you go. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that,
right.
I think that being able to kind of have that stuff going on in your head, I think that, in the past, it sort of made sense to do it the way we did it. But now, again, with it being miniature agnostic, people being able to plan ahead a little bit better before the game even comes out. Like otherwise, the day the game would launch, you now find out what it's about and what kind of models it uses and all this kind of stuff. And then you're like, cool, I have my PDF. I'm waiting for the book to show up if you're into books. And then you're like, but now I got to come up with like, this and this, and I got to dust this off and maybe repaint that and whatever, that kind of stuff. We're giving you that kind of heads up, I think, which is it's not a bad idea. I think we did it right the first time with the first game for sure. I don't think that us coming out and saying, hey, we've got a game that's going to be coming out in 3 months would have made as much sense, since we were an untested, whatever. We were an untested.
Right. No, I think where we were was fine for when we did the right thing then, but now we need to change, right? That's hence the resolution. Like now that people expect the game, they know things are going to be coming around those times because we say that's when we're releasing the things. It's not some big surprise. Why not give people more information so they can get better in sync with our schedule? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So that's going to be coming, and so you'll be hearing about it upcoming. Like I said, the first you're going to hear about concrete information about the next game will be in late March, and that if you're not at Adepticon, it'll come out. I don't know, probably like the week after, maybe 2 weeks after.
Yeah, whatever the schedule works out, however that works out. Yeah.
And then, we'll continue to talk about it here on the podcast and stuff until it launches. And it should launch in probably late May, like we usually do. Technically, we could push it back a week if we wanted to, because TMX got pushed back a week because
official release date pending. It'll probably be the week before TMX, as always, whatever that boils down to.
But it could be 2 weeks before. We could still hit this at the end of,
if we can stay, or if we can go earlier, we'll go earlier. It's just going to be a question of what works out.
Because basically, like, TMX is usually the first weekend in June, but this year, the venue, they were having a wedding there on that first Saturday in June, which I guess makes sense. I mean, people like June weddings for some strange reason. When was your wedding?
I got married on August 23rd.
I got married on October 23rd. So no June weddings over here. But nonetheless, it'll be the 13th and 14th is TMX this year. 13th and 14th of June, 2026. So another thing that we're going to do that kind of relates to that, to telling people when TMX is just talk about the games more in our videos.
This is the thing that I know I've been very remiss on.
Same here.
We put out a lot of videos. I mentioned it like at the end or something. A lot of people don't watch to the end.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get better about, like, especially when there's a cool tie-in, because a lot of the stuff I end up painting you could use in our games. It just like, it doesn't hurt to have a little spot in there where we say, hey, by the way, we also do this thing, and if you're a fan, check it out, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's just, again, I don't do sponsored ad spots and stuff on my channel because I just don't generally want to go through the hassle. I think it's a lot of trouble, and I think it just whatever. I have no fault with people who do it. It's like the way most people who do this for a living have to make money. But at the minimum, like, I should be talking about stuff that we're doing. It's our own project.
Right. Yeah. And I mentioned that in my video that came out this past Friday, as we record this, about self-promotion. I don't self-promote enough. And my plan for 2026 is to try to do a little bit more self-promotion within my videos. Like I mentioned, I'm like, hey, did you know I have a Patreon? I've been doing Patreon since 2017, but I don't usually mention it, and that kind of stuff. And I mentioned merch, and things like that. So, going forward, at least in my videos, I'm going to be having little pop-ups that maybe, that don't interrupt the flow of the video, but there'll be a little thing, what they call a lower third, that pops up from below that might be like, hey, I stream on Twitch too. You can follow me over on Twitch or whatever. Not every video, maybe. Maybe every video, but not like, constantly. It's going to hopefully be unobtrusive. But I also want to make some little short, I don't want to say commercials, but they would be like a video clip talking about, our game or our merch store or stuff like that both of us could have in our videos. I will probably put them at the end. You can put them wherever you would like. But, that's the thing that we both have an audience and we don't barely utilize it. You know what I mean? Like, generally we put out a video when the new game launches, and then that's about it, right? Like,
terrible marketing.
Yeah. I had a couple of people in the comments on my video this Friday who were like, "Oh wow, I bought Space Station Zero. I didn't know that you made that." You know what I mean? Like, so
sure.
It's interesting. So yeah, I think that it's important to do, and not only will we mention the games, we're gonna mention the podcast as well. So
that's right. Yeah,
it'll be like
we want to continue to grow this podcast. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. We'll kind of pop that up and be like, hey, look at that. You know what I mean? Another thing we are looking to do going forward as well, which it relates more to the podcast than it does actually to the game company, although the podcast is part of the game company. We want to be able to do some more interviews this year.
Yes, definitely. So 2026, going to nail down some good interviews. We've got a couple people lined up that we've been talking to. Very excited. Yes, we already obviously did one. We played around with that again a little bit. We obviously the guys from 1490 Doom one. That was great.
Yep.
I want to do more of that. I want to talk to these indie game develevers. I love talking to game developers.
I've actually got one potentially set up for Adepticon, because like we'll be there, and then other people will be.
Awesome, excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe we can do some of that as well. And the thing is, it's not going to be like our podcasts are usually about an hour, but we're not generally going to do like an hour long conversation with like, we'll do our intro stuff where we talk about what's going on, this and that and everything. And then we'll go over and then, maybe talk to the person for half an hour or something like that, or maybe a little bit longer. And then boom, you're kind of done. So, we can do some of those. At least one I want to do. I've actually talked with the person already, which I don't think I've talked to you about, but I've already talked with the person about doing it at Adepticon.
I'm excited to learn this as well, audience.
Yeah,
I'm learning.
indeed.
I'm getting locked in at the same time you are. No, I mean, look, there's a lot of people making cool indie games. One, I want to help more people learn about those games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And two, I just love talking about creating games with people. I love hearing how other people think about designing their games. It's like one of my favorite things is to just talk shop.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, like I could easily do it for more than an hour. Like,
sure,
restricting it to a half hour is already hard as it is.
Well, I mean, it's also it's the same situation that you get with Adepticon of like, it's like you're like, God, I'm going to be here for like what 5 days, but it goes so fast. You know what I mean?
It does. You don't want to like, we have to be nice with other people's time. Absolutely.
Exactly. So there's always that too. And like I said, we'll be doing our roughly hour and a half or whatever, probably on Friday night at Adepticon. Right now, as we're recording this, you can see the previews for events. You can't register yet. Registration opens up sometime in January, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So then you could register. Probably we will not sell out. I think that we have 100 slots. So now it's free.
Wow, give us a good sized room. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, well,
let's
I don't think
sell
they had
out,
a choice.
People. Get them tickets. Let's go.
Sure,
let's pack
absolutely.
To the rafters.
No, I'm taking it back. You better get your tickets right away because otherwise we'll sell out for sure. But yeah, so that'll be fun. Also, it's not during John and Scott's.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we didn't want to.
I mean, it didn't want. Yes. Yeah, because that made sense. So yeah, makes total sense there. Exploring new mechanics and options in the games. This is more up your street, I think.
Yeah, I'll talk about this one. So
yeah,
starting with this game, but really as we're going forward, one of the things that I do want to focus on, and I mean, I'd love feedback from this. So if you're watching this on YouTube or something like that, or even if you're listening to us, like hit us up with an email or whatever, or jump over to YouTube and leave a comment, whatever's easiest for you. But reach out to us, get at us in some way on a social media, perhaps. I really do want to sort of push and explore a little more of the solo and co-op stuff. It's something we've had in our games since Space Station Zero, obviously. But what I mean by that is, especially starting with this next game, I'll be honest, this next game is really very solo co-op focused, the one that's coming out in May. Okay. That's like, it can be played in skirmish, of course. And it's not that I want that to go away. It's just that skirmish games are skirmish games. They've been around now for a long time, a long time, right?
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years ago, before the dawn of man.
Indeed.
No, I mean, look, like it's been a thing that's around for a long time. I love, but like co-op and solo type games, yes, they existed. There are plenty of analogies to them earlier, but really they've come into their own in like the past 10, 15 years, as like being a major sort of thing that a lot of games are offering. And I think, to me, it's just a more fun way to play a lot of these games, right? Is to like get together with your friends and try to like beat the puzzle together. And I want to see what we can do with that and explore some different things over the coming games. Like this year will be the first part of that, but honestly, this is a resolution that will extend beyond 2026, and look what we can really explore there. Now, the challenge with that is always Snarl, where we try to keep the games simpler. Okay. And they often tend to be skirmish focused because having solo and co-op takes up a lot of space. It's just a space concern.
Yeah. And that's probably going forward. We'll I mean, I wouldn't expect a lot of solo and co-op out of Snarl. Potentially, just again, because
potentially I've got a little idea this year.
Well, that's something.
Yeah. So we'll see. Like I said, it is it's a year where I want to make sure we're really utilizing the medium. Like, one thing I never want to do as a game designer is like just rest on my laurels and just be like, oh, well, we'll just make another game like this and another game like this. It's the reason we don't have like a shared mechanical universe, if that makes sense, right? We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Why we don't just have like,
we've had a lot of people ask.
Yeah, the Snarling Badger universe mechanics, right? And it's like, oh, now it's that set of mechanics applied to a sci-fi game and a spaceship game and a Old West game or whatever.
Yeah, and just change the fluff, as it were, or change the set dressing, but keep the same mechanics. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But for us, it's always been the mechanics are related to the story, like very strongly. So that's why things are very different in the way that you play Majestic 13 in comparison to the way that you play Rain and Iron. And so, that kind of thing. And so because of that, and it also, frankly, it allows us to stretch and to not be just doing the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so that's like my personal resolution to myself for these next games is to like the area I'd really like to focus in on is what can we do to continue expanding the sphere, the zone, the area, the interest, whatever you want to say, of the solo and co-op play, right? Especially for people like I want more people to be able to play these games with like their partner or their friend who can come over and maybe doesn't really love competitive games, like doesn't just want to get their teeth kicked in by their other friend every week, right?
For sure.
Like, and so I want to make sure we have games that really work well for that, are fit to that purpose, and that they provide for a like fulfilling experience down that lane, if that makes sense. So this has been something that I've been thinking about already as I've been working through the game. It's been a huge part of like my thought process going forward, or going over the right. Sorry, not going forward, going backward, like through the writing process of this. But it's going to continue to be in my head going forward. So, yeah, there you go.
I agree. I think that like we have obviously, the spring 2026 game is done text wise, and
it's going to be a big one too. By the by, just so everybody knows.
I mean, it's not going to be as big as
it's not Majestic 13 big. That was the biggest one we ever did.
Yeah, Majestic 13
it's going to be pretty big.
144 pages, but yeah, this will be probably over 100 easy.
It will be, and just like the depth of it is more what I mean here.
Sure,
right? It's going to be big as far as the experience goes. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And but anyway, so this is like obviously we know what this is, and then frankly, we don't currently have Snarl 2026 figured out yet. I don't think. We've had some.
No, like I said, I've got some ideas. I mean, other than elves with shotguns, of course.
Sure, of course. And then the 2027 spring game, we know what that's going to be, but it's not even started really writing too much. And then beyond that, we just have ideas that we kind of like bounce around and try to figure out. I mean, we have sheets, or not sheets. What do you call them? Online docs. I've got like a thing on my phone, and I've just got a bunch of ideas, and when we need another idea, we just start banging around. Like the whole goblin, Great Goblin Argle Bargle, that completely came from me just going through my list of different weird ideas and telling them to Vince. And one of them was literally just Goblin Game ?
Yeah, and you said that to me, and then I was like, okay. Like, and then I went away, and this crazy idea occurred to me, and I was like, yeah, we can do that. That's a thing.
Yeah. So it's Goblin Game ? And then I think in quotes it said Goblin Mode, because Goblin Mode was I thought maybe it could be called, and that's not what we ended up calling it. But yeah, and then like a week later I come back and we have our normal Sunday night meeting, and he's like, all right, I got Snarl figured out, and it's going to be this. And I was like, wait, what? And then it all just sprouted from about 4 words. So these things happen. But yeah, I think that being able to kind of see some of these stories or these ideas, and then see how they fit with the solo and co-op kind of thing, and the different types of mechanics. I think that's always that's the interesting part, at least to us. I don't know about to
I think co-op is the greatly underexplored area here. Okay, and I just think I've got so many ideas bouncing around in my head of like ways to. Co-op often, and I think this will probably still very much be true with the game we released this year, but I'll work on our 2027 game this year. I'll write it this year.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm really interested in co-op is how do we make it so it's it's not just two people playing the game. I know that sounds weird, okay? But like what I'm trying to say is like materially, you've got one person playing the game. They have an experience, right? And it's like your guys and the bad guys, you fight the bad guys. Okay, whatever, right? Co-op is just like, okay, well, now it's your guys and their guys, and you both fight the bad guys, right? But you're both having, it's ostensibly the same experience if there's one or two of you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. If you're playing solo, it's the same game as if you're playing co-op. It's just probably there are more bad guys, or they're at least tougher, so it wouldn't, otherwise it's
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
like the game responds to you having more people or something. What I'm interested in exploring, especially as I'm working on our next game, because I think it's going to fit really well there, is what can I do so it's a materially different experience when you play with another person? Okay. When you go co-op, and like it materially changes the experience. So I've got some ideas. I've been like sketching down some notes here and there as I think about stuff. But that's again, this is like something that's really got my juices flowing, as it were. So there's one of my resolutions.
There you go. And then we've got some kind of changes to the way that we're looking at doing some play testing. That's right. This is also kind of a your area thing to some degree.
I've brought in some additional play testers. So not that Tom has let me down in any way. Tom's been great. No. He's very good at what he does. He's still going to be doing the primary lead development. But I wanted a few more people who could work with the game. So I have a small cadre of people that I trust, who've agreed to work with this current game. So they're actually picking up this week with it. As we're it'll already have happened as you're listening.
Exactly. More eyes are always important.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is just, as I said, this game is one of the like deepest games we've ever written, as far as just sort of like the things you can do, how customizable your forces will end up being, I guess.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
And so like that requires more deeper testing, right? So that's what it comes down to. So I mean, it's about not having we want to have a formal process, but not a locked process, if that makes sense for these games.
And we're not looking for like open play testing. We're not there yet. And
there may be a time in the future it could happen,
potentially, maybe, but yeah. For right now, it's a group of folks that you've known for a while who are, game players, and whose I think opinion you hold in esteem to some degree, and
that is correct. I've known these people for a long time. I find them to have good insights into. They are war gamers who play a lot of different games. They have a lot of good opinions about those games. Like I think they will not be afraid to give me the true story and the feedback. If something sucks, they will say it sucks. Right, that kind of thing. You want honesty in your play testers. So they meet all of that. Yes,
right. And then. Yeah, and this is this last one is kind of it's a little bit more on it's both of us really, but if you've been paying attention, if you've been and you may not necessarily, like not everybody sees patterns in layout and things like that, but since the first game we've always laid out the spring, like the bigger games, Rain in Hell, Space Station Zero, etc. Not the Snarl ones. Snarl, the size of the book of the actual print area kind of restricts us a little bit, and we end up doing 2 columns that are equal size. But with the other books, the books that come out, in the spring through Wargame Vault and all that stuff, and can get printed and everything, we always have 2 columns, but one is like, it's technically a 1 column per page. There's a wider column that is on the inside part of the page, and then on the outside part of the page, there's a narrower column, which we referred to as the sidebar. And we don't necessarily always put text in the sidebar. We have a tendency to use it for, sometimes you'll throw a little piece of art in there, but sometimes it's more like a call out to better explain like what's going on in the main body of the copy. Like, if you're in a section about combat, then maybe, and the way that it relates to cover, then you can have like a little explanation over on the side There's a little call out that talks about like, if it fits, it sits and that kind of stuff about where, little extra rules. The other benefit, honestly, to the sidebar is that every once in a while, we find something that needs to be in there, and then the book is like completely laid out, and then we have a place to put that little extra thing. If you're ever wondering when you're looking at your copy of Space Station Zero, why the information about commanders is in the sidebar and not in the regular part of the thing, it's because we sent it off to print and then realized that there was nothing in there about the information about commanders was not in the actual text. So we were like, oh, we'll just
didn't
slide
get
that in the
copied over
sidebar
properly.
Yeah. Yep. So it is a situation of being able to sometimes it gives you a little bit extra wiggle room, a little bit extra play. But we want to, I think, also look a little bit at, the worst thing you can do is say, well, we do it this way because it's the way we've always done it.
No, yeah, exactly. This is much like the previous one. So I was watching Questing Beast's end of year video. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this channel, but he's an RPG guy. And he did like his top 10 RPG books of 2025 or something. And I was like, okay, well, what did you like? And it was a perfectly fine video. I love this guy's shtick, by the way. It's just him looking at books, like his single top-down camera, his hands move around on the desk and he flips through pages. Man, great stuff. This guy's got to get what a genius. At any rate, and that's not sarcasm. I really mean that.
Yeah.
But when he was going through his things, one of the things he frequently talked about and showed off was the layout, right? And he highly praised the layout of the book and how easy it made the user experience and stuff like that. I've been thinking a lot more about UX.
Which book was it?
Right. Oh, just about like this is one of the most frequent things he talked about in his reviews of his top 10.
Oh,
like,
I see.
The quality of the layout and how good it was, because a lot of these newer RPGs are really stepping up their layout game. It came up in like 6 different books he reviewed. Okay. Like Dolmen Wood and one of the Dolmen Wood expansions, which I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's like a particular, it's an RPG. It doesn't matter. But at any rate, it's one I'm going to pick up this year. But again, studying the layout alone is probably a good example of like just how smartly they lay out their book. And like, so I just want to make sure we really take the time this time to get like not only working with Adam and how do we do it layout correctly, but like how do I build the sections? How do I build the notes? How do I build the sidebars? It's a synergistic process. Again, this is really both of us working in tandem, right? To make sure the stuff is easier to use or reference or whatever you need.
I'm in multiple minds with layout sometimes. Like I love, if you've ever heard of, and I know you've heard of it, but if our listeners ever heard of a little book called Morkborg, it's an amazing little RPG to flip through and read and all that kind of stuff, and it's interesting, and it's like almost no 2 pages match. Like there is not a format.
It's
everything is like it's crazy and everything like that. Which I, as a person who's not necessarily trying to play the game, I do dig it. I'm like, this is very cool, and I see an amazing amount of work going into stuff like that. But there is also a diminishing returns to some degree sometimes on like, yeah, this looks astounding, but where do I find the cover section again? You know what I mean? And so
you're always trying to balance that user experience and readability versus just like the actual raw aesthetic of the thing.
Yeah, and again, kind of going back to Majestic 13, one of the reasons I think Majestic 13 is one of the more visually interesting books that we've produced to some degree is because whenever I had like a weird little spot where I'm like, I need to put something in here, I would just make it and put it in there. And it would be like a little scrap of paper from like a file, and it would say, there'd be redacted stuff and this and that. It was easy to do. But when you work with illustrators, you generally like aren't laying the book out when you get the illustrators to start drawing. You haven't done that part yet. So you're not saying, I need this to be exactly this size. You give them sizes that are roughly, like, I'll do a half page of this and do a like third page of that and whatever. And then as you go through, you start trying to figure out where to kind of populate things, and that's based off of those things. And I feel like, I don't know, I've never done a book like that before that's so crazy integrated with all the artwork. And I literally think that like I feel like they're creating stuff on the fly a lot more. You know what I mean? And that's cool and everything. but it's got to take a ton long. I know that the layout for Majestic 13 took 2 months in comparison to the other books, which generally don't. So, but yeah, I agree. I think that just kind of, you mentioned sitting on our laurels earlier, like that's a thing definitely that we don't particularly want to do either. But I also I do like the like narrow and wide kind of aspect to
Oh yeah,
to
like
the
that
comments or
general
the
frame I
columns.
think is
Yeah,
correct. It's just
yeah,
what
yeah,
we
yeah.
how are the sections structured? What information is available on what page? How often are we
Hmm.
making you flip around through the book? You know, it's that
Right.
kind of stuff I
No,
want to think
absolutely.
deeply
Yeah,
about here.
there's a lot of depth to that. Um, there's a really interesting. Did you see? I don't know his name, but the guy who did the layout, the book design for the Trench Crusade book, he has a YouTube channel, and he did a video where he went through and kind of talked about like why they did certain things and like all kinds of interesting stuff and everything about as he went through the Trench Crusade, like the fancy
Oh,
book.
cool.
Yeah. And like flipped, and he alternated back and forth between like a top down camera and all that kind of stuff and everything like that. And that was also really interesting. Just like for him to be like, yeah, on this page, we used this as the accent color because we pulled it from this piece of artwork. And whereas, the accent color in this other section was another, page or whatever, different colors and stuff like that. So it made a lot of sense, but it was really interesting to kind of see that kind of stuff. You don't, as a designer yourself, game designer, you don't need to strike to that level, right?
Sure.
Especially when you
Yeah, yeah.
first start, for sure. We're still not anywhere near that level, but we try to, improve. That's part of the whole idea of resolutions.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think that's basically my stuff. That's I think our resolutions for Snarling Badger Studios, right? That's what we're trying to
Yeah,
do.
yeah. We do not resolve to make any more games than we currently make in a given year.
No, that is definitely not happening. Not
No,
until not
no.
until I retire. So there you
Right.
go.
Yeah. 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 And even then, geez, I don't know. That's a lot. I mean, like we're doing
It
like a
would be a lot.
game and a half a year and already. So, as it is. Well, thanks for checking out this episode of the Snarlcast. We hope we were able to teach you something. If you've got suggestions for future topics or questions or whatever, you can hit us up in the comments on YouTube, or you could shoot us an email or something like that. You can find our email and more information at our website, which is snarlingbadger.com/snarlcast. You can find, more information and also episodes there. You can also follow us on your podcast software of choice, whatever you like to use. We're on pretty much all of them, I'm pretty sure. You can leave a review on one of those if you really want to, if you're feeling generous. And we appreciate your time.
Bye bye.